The empty chair. The grand hall of the Galactic Council glittered with lights that seemed older than the stars themselves. Massive crystal walls reflected the glow of 1,000 alien species, each seated in their designated place. Voices buzzed, like a living storm, mixing languages, tones, and signals. Yet in the center of all that noise, one detail silenced many hearts: the human chair. It was empty. For the 10th year in a row, the seat of Earth remained unoccupied. No flag, no representative, no signal to announce their arrival. The chair stood there like a ghost, a reminder of a species that refused to speak, refused to answer, refused to join. A tall, insect-like delegate clicked his mandibles, his voice sharp with mockery. Once again, the primitives show disrespect. Earth thinks itself above us. Or perhaps they are too weak to face the council. A wave of laughter spread across the chamber. Some joined in, others lowered their eyes. Beneath the noise, a few remained silent, and their silence spoke louder than words. They did not laugh because deep inside they felt a growing unease. A reptilian envoy from the Sitha coil leaned forward, his eyes glowing yellow. "We have waited long enough. Year after year, their absence insults this council. What is Earth planning?" The hall quieted for a moment. The question was dangerous. No one liked to admit it, but everyone thought about it. Why did Earth stay silent? Why did they never show up? Every other species had fought for the honor of a chair in this hall. Some had spilled blood for centuries before winning the right to sit here, yet humans had been offered one without war, and they never came. A small bird-like creature, feathers shimmering blue, gave a nervous laugh. Perhaps they do not understand galactic protocol. Perhaps they are still learning. Still learning, the reptilian envoy hissed. They send probes across systems, build colonies on their moon, construct weapons we barely understand. And yet when called, they send no one. This is not ignorance, this is defiance. The insect delegate slammed one arm on the table, the sharp sound echoing. Then let us punish their arrogance. Let us strip Earth of its seat. Let them crawl, alone in the dark. Gasps echoed. The thought had been whispered in private corners but never spoken aloud in the chamber. To remove a species from the council was no small thing. It meant branding them as outcasts, enemies, or prey. Yet before the idea could grow, a calm, aged voice spoke. It belonged to the Chancellor, an ancient being older than most civilizations present. His body shimmered like molten glass, ever shifting, ever flowing. His voice rolled across the hall like thunder slowed to a whisper. Patience. Humans have not spoken, yes. But silence is not always weakness. The insect delegate's mandibles clattered in protest. Then what do you call it, Chancellor? A decade of silence? A seat left empty? No other world would dare. The Chancellor's form rippled. No other world is Earth. The words hung in the air. Simple, heavy, uncomfortable. Some envoys shifted, uneasily in their chairs. They remembered rumors, fleets seen near the asteroid belts, strange signals vanishing into the void, probes lost without trace, stories whispered by wandering traders, stories of massive ships glimpsed in shadows, ships that bore no alien mark, ships silent and terrifying. But no one had proof. And without proof, the galaxy laughed. A younger envoy, nervous but bold, finally asked, "What if they are preparing for something?" The chamber exploded with laughter again. Mocking tones, cruel jokes. Humans, preparing. Ha! They cannot even speak to us, let alone prepare for war. The young envoy lowered his eyes, feathers trembling. Yet the question had already been planted in many minds. What if Earth was waiting, not hiding? What if silence was not emptiness, but warning? The Chancellor's molten form shimmered once more. He raised his hand and silence fell like a curtain. "Mark my words," he said slowly. "A day will come when this empty chair will not remain empty. And when it is filled, the galaxy will understand why humans chose silence." No one spoke after that. The meeting ended with resolutions, trade agreements, disputes between species that had nothing to do with Earth. But all the while, In the center of the chamber, the empty chair sat still, silent, waiting. And somewhere, far away on a blue planet under a quiet sun, humanity prepared. Whispers of fear. The Galactic Council's meeting ended, but the whispers did not. They traveled through corridors of glass and steel, across stations orbiting alien suns and into the private halls of empires. Earth's chair was empty again. 10 years and not a word. They mock the galaxy, or worse, they are hiding something. At first, these whispers were quiet, almost jokes passed in shadowed corners, but as time stretched on, the tone changed. Laughter turned brittle, rumors grew teeth. A trader vessel returned from a human system with a strange story. Its captain swore that entire sectors of space near Earth were locked down. Patrols warned them away, cold and silent. The captain described seeing massive shapes. In the dark, shadows that blotted stars, silent giants drifting in the void. He claimed they were ships, though unlike any ever built. No proof, no recordings, only a trembling voice. Still, the story spread. A council aide whispered it to a senator. The senator told it to a rival. Soon the entire chamber knew. Humans were not silent out of weakness. They were silent because they were building something. In the quiet corners of the galaxy, fear began to take root. On the shining world of Korath, a gathering of alien military strategists sat in a circular chamber. Maps of space flickered in holographic light. One officer leaned forward, her reptilian claws tapping the table. Humans ignore every call, yet they expand. Their colonies grow, their stations multiply. What are they preparing for? Another officer, insect-like with 4 black eyes, hissed, in reply. Perhaps nothing. Perhaps they are only foolish, slow to understand. But the reptilian bared her fangs. Or perhaps they are wise enough to let us think exactly that. Her words cut through the air. No one laughed. Meanwhile, in the streets of lesser worlds, rumors twisted into fear. Children whispered stories of human ghosts in the sky. Merchants claimed human spies walked among them, silent and watchful. Even smugglers who feared no empire avoided Earth's space. One smuggler was braver, or more foolish than most. He told the council's guard that he had approached Earth's orbit to sell contraband. His voice shook as he explained what he saw. They didn't speak, didn't fire, but their ships appeared out of the void, like shadows with eyes. Hundreds, maybe more. No words, just silence. Silence heavy as death. I fled. The guards laughed at him, called him a liar. But in private, they avoided human space as well. The next council meeting, the whispers boiled over into debate. We should strip them of their seat. No, we should investigate. Investigate what? Ghost stories, shadows? They build weapons in secret. Then why have they not used them? The Chancellor watched all this in silence, his molten body rippling faintly. Finally, he spoke, his voice calm but heavy. You all laugh, but laughter is fear in disguise. Tell me, why do your empires so proud fear an empty chair? The chamber grew still. No one had an answer. Later, in private halls, diplomats argued. Some called Earth arrogant, dangerous, a threat to order. Others claimed humans were only misunderstood, still new to the stars, confused by alien politics. But all agreed on one thing. Humanity's silence was unnatural. In the darkness of her quarters, a young envoy wrote a private report to her homeworld. Her words trembled across the page. Every time I see that empty chair, I feel watched, as if humans are not absent, but present in ways we do not see. What if they are listening? What if the silence is their warning? Her report was dismissed as fear, but she was not the only one who felt it. In time, the whispers became storms. Across the galaxy, species prepared, fleets expanded, weapons sharpened, alliances tightened, all because of Earth's silence. Yet Earth itself never spoke. Its borders remained closed, its systems patrolled. No envoy ever came to the council. No answer was ever given. The galaxy mocked, yet trembled. And still in the heart of the council chamber, the empty chair waited. The last warning. The council chamber was restless. For weeks the whispers of Earth's silence had grown louder. Traitors feared their borders. Soldiers imagined invisible fleets. Diplomats carried rumors like weapons. Finally, the council decided something must be done. On the day of decision, the chamber was filled to the edge. Lights glowed harsh and bright on the high glass walls. Delegates leaned forward in their chairs, voices sharp, tempers short. All eyes turned toward the empty chair of Earth, its shadow long on the polished floor. The insect-like delegate rose first, mandibles clicking with anger. Enough! 10 years of silence, 10 years of insult. We demand action. Earth must answer, or be stripped of its place among us. A chorus of agreement shook the hall. Reptilian envoys slammed their tails against the ground. Avian diplomats flapped their wings in agitation. Even the cautious voices that once defended humanity were silent now. The chancellor lifted a molten hand, and the noise fell away. HFY voice was calm but firm. Very well. We will send one final message, one last chance. If Earth remains silent, then their seat will be removed. Agreed? The council voted, and the result was almost unanimous. A single final warning would be sent. In a distant chamber, deep beneath the council halls, the message was crafted. Words of diplomacy sharpened into threats. Attend or face judgment. The warning carried the weight of the entire council, an alliance of hundreds of worlds. Once sent, there would be no turning back. The signal left the chamber, blazing through subspace. It traveled across star systems, past dying suns and newborn nebulae, until at last it reached the quiet blue world called Earth. Then, silence. No reply. Across the galaxy, tension rose like a storm. In the courts of mighty empires, rulers whispered of human arrogance. In hidden stations, generals planned. Fleets were moved closer to Earth's borders, hidden under the excuse of routine patrols. Weapons were prepared, soldiers drilled. Some species cheered, believing Earth would finally be forced to kneel. Others trembled, fearing what might happen if humans refused. On the icy world of Scytha, the reptilian commander addressed her officers. The humans think themselves untouchable. They ignore us, mock us, test us. We will show them the price of silence. If they do not answer, our fleets will strike. On the lush planet of Threll, a bird-like diplomat spoke in private to her advisor. Her feathers shook as she whispered, "Do you not feel it? Their silence is not weakness. It is a waiting storm. We should not provoke them." Her words were ignored. In the council chamber, days passed, then weeks. No answer came from Earth. Every time a signal was checked, the result was the same: silence. The insect delegate grew impatient, his voice louder each day. "See, they mock us. They spit on our laws. Enough delay. We must act." The chancellor's glowing form dimmed with unease. He stared at the empty chair, his molten body rippling with silent thought. Finally, he spoke. "Strange, is it not? For all their silence, the humans have never begged for mercy. They have never explained themselves. They do not fear us. That should worry you." But the council was tired of waiting. At last, the vote was made. If Earth did not respond, then the council fleets would move. The galaxy would force an answer. On the night of the final deadline, the chamber filled once again. Delegates sat in heavy silence, eyes fixed on the great screen at the front. A technician stood by, scanning channels for even the smallest signal. "Any reply?" the chancellor asked. The technician shook his head. "None." Earth remained silent. The insect delegate stood with triumph in his voice. "Then we have our answer. They are cowards. They are fools. And they will be crushed." The chamber erupted in approval. Fleets would be mobilized, warships would be sent. Earth would be forced into obedience. But as the celebrations echoed, a shadow of doubt crawled across the minds of the few who still remembered the rumors. The silent ships, the vanished probes, the unease that grew heavier with every year of waiting. The Chancellor lowered his gaze, whispering to himself words only he could hear. You fools. You think silence is surrender? But silence can also be preparation. And somewhere, far above Earth, hidden in the black ocean of space, something vast and silent stirred. The awakening skies, the fleets came first as shadows. Great alien armadas slid through the stars like silent predators, their engines burning with power. Hundreds of ships from dozens of species moved toward the Sol system. The Council had given the order, if Earth would not answer, Earth would be forced to answer. From Mars's orbit to the edge of Saturn's rings, alien scouts placed their markers. They expected to find a frightened world, small and unprepared. Some commanders even laughed as they spoke to their crews. Humans are reckless children, one reptilian captain said. They thought their silence would protect them. Now they will learn the truth. But the truth was not what the aliens expected. On Earth, the skies remained calm. Oceans rolled in silence. Cities glowed as if nothing had changed. But high above the planet, in the endless black of orbit, something began to stir. It started with one shadow. A massive silhouette, larger than any council ship, emerged from behind the moon. Its armor gleamed with strange angles, dark metal swallowing light. For a moment it seemed like a drifting asteroid, until rows of cannons came alive with a dull red glow. Then another shadow rose, and another. From behind Earth's curve, from hidden stations near the asteroid belt, from vaults buried deep under orbital silence, ships began to rise. 1 by 1, 10 by 10, hundreds, and then thousands. The sky above Earth turned into an ocean of steel. Alien scouts panicked first. Their sensors, meant to detect fleets light years away, had seen nothing until now. Suddenly their screens filled with signals, warships surrounding the planet like a storm of blades. Impossible, one alien officer cried. How did they build this? How did we not see? Another voice shouted, broken by fear. There are thousands of ships. The human fleet made no sound, no broadcast, no challenge, no threat. Only silence. Silent ships with glowing weapons, each one watching, each one waiting. In the council chamber, the moment struck like thunder. Reports flooded, in from scouts, each message more frantic than the last. The insect delegate who had mocked Earth froze, his mandibles clattering without sound. This cannot be true, he whispered. The reptilian envoy, once so bold, stared at the great screen, her yellow eyes wide with shock. 1,000 ships, at least 1,000. The young bird-like envoy, the one who had spoken of fear before, lowered her head. Her feathers trembled as she whispered. They were never absent. They were preparing all along. The Chancellor's molten form glowed brighter than ever, his voice rolling through the chamber. And now, the silence is broken. Above Earth, the human fleet moved. Slowly, with precision, the ships aligned into formation. Battleships like floating mountains, carriers that swallowed the horizon, stealth ships flickering in and out of sight. Their weapons hummed, glowing faintly like embers before a storm. One alien captain dared to speak across the channel. His voice trembled, but pride forced his words. Humans, this is the Council Armada. You will stand down at once. Show your representatives, or face the wrath of the galaxy. Silence. The human fleet gave no reply. Instead, the warships advanced, drifting forward in perfect unison. Like a wall of steel, they surrounded Earth, forming an unbreakable barrier. Didier, message was clear. Earth needed no words. Its answer was in the thousands of warships that filled the skies. Across the galaxy, panic spread like fire. Civilizations that had mocked humanity now trembled. Armies that had prepared to crush Earth realized they might be the ones crushed instead. The council, once filled with arrogance, now sat frozen in fear. And still, Earth said nothing. No representative stepped forward. No speech was given. Only the warships spoke, their silence heavier than any threat. On the ground below, humans lived their ordinary lives. Farmers tending fields, children playing under the sun, workers crossing crowded streets. Most had no idea of the storm unfolding above. Yet in secret bunkers and hidden command centers, human leaders watched with calm eyes. One general stood before the holographic display of the massive fleet and spoke in a steady voice. They think we are late. They think we are weak. Let them see what silence builds. His words were carried into the dark. The awakening skies had begun. And for the first time in galactic history, it was not the council that held the galaxy's fear. It was Earth. 1,000 shadows, the sky above Earth, had changed. What once was empty space was now filled with shadows, vast silent warships that glowed faintly like distant embers. Each one hung in perfect formation, unmoving yet alive, like hunters waiting for prey. From the viewports of alien scouts, the sight was unbearable. Ships stretched farther than sensors could count, layer upon layer, blocking out the stars. For every vessel destroyed, it seemed 3 more waited behind it. The galaxy's proud fleets, once the rulers of the void, now looked small in comparison. An insectoid officer trembled as he read the data on his console. This is impossible. Their fleet. Our records say Earth had nothing like this. A reptilian commander slammed his fist against the metal railing. His voice cracked with both fury and fear. Then our records were lies. They built all of this in silence while we laughed. We should have feared their silence. In the council chamber, chaos spread like wildfire. Delegates shouted over one another, their voices a storm of fear. They hid this fleet from us. How could they build so much in so little time? We must demand they stand down immediately. The chancellor remained still, his molten body dim but steady. He watched the empty chair of Earth with heavy silence. Finally he spoke, his voice deep as thunder. You all wondered why they ignored us. Now you have your answer. They were never ignoring. They were preparing. The words struck the chamber cold. No one laughed this time. Above Earth, the human fleet shifted slowly into a new formation. Battleships aligned like a wall, carriers took their places, and stealth ships flickered in and out of sight, as though space itself bent around them. Weapons hummed softly, glowing faint red and blue. Railguns stretched like spines across the warship's hulls. Cannons pulsed with restrained energy, brighter with each passing moment. One alien captain, desperate to cling to pride, opened a channel. His voice thundered across frequencies. Humans! This is the Council Armada. You will explain this display. Power down your weapons or face judgment. The reply was silence. The silence pressed harder than words. It carried more weight than threats. It was not weakness, it was dominance. Panic rippled through alien fleets. Commanders shouted over one another, arguing whether to attack or retreat. They cannot fight all of us. There are too many of them, look. Form lines. Hold. Formation. No, pull back before it's too late. But no matter how many orders were given, no matter how tightly alien ships regrouped, the sight of the human fleet shattered their courage. The galaxy's greatest armadas had never faced a force like this. Every ship above Earth was not just a vessel, it was a message. For 10 years, Earth had spoken through silence. Now that silence had taken shape, thousands of shadows in the sky, each one armed, each one watching. In hidden human bunkers deep beneath the oceans, commanders observed the alien fleets with calm expressions. Screens glowed with data, formations, and intercepted signals. They are panicking, one general said. They do not understand. Another officer nodded. Good. Let them fear the unknown. The longer they fear, the stronger our silence becomes. No orders of diplomacy were sent. No requests for peace. The humans let their fleet do the speaking. Back in the council chamber, the insect delegate who once mocked Earth now trembled visibly. His mandibles clicked nervously as he whispered, "We cannot face this, not alone, not even together. They are not a minor world. They are something else." The reptilian envoy hissed in frustration, though her voice was lined with dread. "Then what do you suggest? We already sent the warning. If they do not answer, we must attack." Her words carried more desperation than strength. Even she knew what was coming. The young bird-like envoy closed her eyes and whispered quietly, "You fools. If you strike first, it will not be war. It will be an ending." Above Earth, the human fleet moved again, slowly encircling the planet, shadows upon shadows forming a ring of steel and fire that stretched farther than any alien fleet could match. The stars themselves seemed to vanish behind their walls of metal. 1,000 shadows had risen, and every one of them promised the same unspoken message. Earth had heard everything, and now Earth was ready to answer. The first strike. The galaxy had seen battles before. Empires rose and fell, fleets clashed in the dark between stars, and planets burned under the weight of ambition. But what unfolded above Earth that night was different. The human fleet hung silent, thousands of warships in perfect formation. No banner, no declaration, no voice across the channels. Just silence, heavy and unshakable. On the Council flagship, an insectoid commander hissed in frustration. His mandibles clattered as he slammed a claw against the console. "They mock us. They dare to stare at us in silence as if we are insects in their eyes. Enough. I will not be humiliated by primitives." He raised his arm and gave the order. "Open fire." From the alien fleet, beams of light cut through the void. Plasma cannons lit up the darkness. Missiles streaked forward like burning comets. The combined power of dozens of species roared toward Earth's orbit. A storm of destruction meant to crush the silence, but the silence did not break. In a single breath, the human fleet moved. Ships the size of mountains vanished and reappeared, in blinding flashes. Railguns thundered, their projectiles ripping through alien shields like paper. Energy cannons glowed white-hot, carving through enemy formations with surgical precision. The first alien line collapsed in seconds. A reptilian warship, pride of its people, shattered into fragments. An insectoid destroyer, known for its speed, was caught mid-dive and torn apart. The galaxy's most feared dreadnought cracked open like glass, its wreckage scattering into the void. The Council fleet screamed across open channels. "Impossible! They're everywhere at once. Our shields mean nothing. How?" Panic spread faster than the fire. On Earth, in hidden command centers, human officers stood calm, their voices steady. "Squadron Delta, move to intercept." Sector 7. Alpha formation cut through the left flank. "Hold fire on the civilian vessels. Only military targets." There was no rage in their orders, no chaos in their voices, only discipline, only precision. For years, while the galaxy laughed, humans had been preparing. They had trained not for words, but for war. And now, their silence spoke louder than any council decree. In the council chamber, the delegates watched in frozen horror as the battle streamed across the screens. The insect delegate who had mocked Earth for years shook uncontrollably. They were never weak," the reptilian envoy hissed, her yellow eyes wide with terror. "No, they were waiting." The young bird-like envoy closed her feathers around her trembling body, whispering, "This is the storm I feared." Silence was never emptiness. It was their warning. Back in orbit, the Council's second wave tried to regroup. Ships pulled back, desperate to form new lines. Orders screamed across channels, commanders shouting for unity. But the human fleet moved like a single organism, precise and unstoppable. Stealth ships flickered into existence behind enemy lines, cutting supply vessels apart before vanishing again. Carriers released swarms of drones that attacked with terrifying speed. Overwhelming defense systems. Human warships, colossal and unyielding, advanced without hesitation, their weapons carving a path through the galaxy's proudest armadas. The First strike was not just an attack, it was a revelation. The galaxy had believed Earth was ignoring them. They believed silence was arrogance or fear. Now, they realized the truth. Earth's silence had been preparation. And in that preparation, humanity had become something greater than anyone imagined. On the shattered bridge of a council battleship, a reptilian captain stared at the burning wreckage of his fleet. His claws shook as he whispered, "We thought they were late to the stars, but they are not late. They are the storm." The battle ended faster than it began. What was supposed to be a punishment turned into a massacre. Entire fleets were gone. Thousands of ships reduced to drifting wreckage. Silence returned to orbit, but it was no longer the silence of absence. It was the silence of dominance. Above Earth, the human fleet reformed. Thousands of ships undamaged, weapons glowing faintly in the dark. Not a single human voice was broadcast, no threats, no speeches, only the message of their first strike. We are here. We are ready. We are not afraid. In the council chamber, the chancellor rose, his molten body glowing with sorrow. His voice echoed heavy as stone. I warned you. Silence is not weakness. And now, the galaxy will live with the answer humanity has given. The chamber fell into fearful quiet. Delegates lowered their heads. The laughter of 10 years was gone, replaced by terror. The humans had spoken at last, not with words, but with war. The final message. The wreckage of alien ships drifted silently across Earth's orbit. Burning fragments spun like dying stars, their flames swallowed by the cold of space. What was once the pride of the Galactic Council now floated broken and scattered, a reminder of how quickly power could be undone. The human fleet stood untouched. Thousands of warships remained in perfect formation, their weapons still glowing faintly, ready to fire again. But there was no need. The first strike had been enough. Across alien frequencies, desperate voices filled the void. Fall back. Retreat. They're unstoppable. Pull the survivors out. Do not engage. Do not engage. For the first time in centuries, the Council Armada was broken. In the Galactic Council chamber, silence ruled. Delegates stared at the great screen, their faces pale, their voices stolen. None dared to speak. The insect delegate sat frozen, mandibles hanging open. The reptilian envoy gripped her seat so tightly the metal bent under her claws. The young bird-like envoy's feathers trembled, but her eyes were filled not with shock, only with the heavy truth she had feared all along. The chancellor rose slowly. His molten body glowed like fire in the dark, his voice deep and steady. I told you, silence is not weakness, silence is patience, silence is preparation, and now humanity has spoken. No one argued. Above Earth, the human fleet shifted once more. Slowly, the warships parted, opening a gap in their endless wall of steel. At the center of the formation, a single ship glided forward, larger and darker than all the rest. Its surface shimmered with strange light, as if stars themselves burned within its hull. And then, for the first time in 10 years, Earth sent a message. Every screen across the galaxy flickered. Every communication channel fell silent. Every world, every station, every ship tuned into a single broadcast. The voice was human, calm, steady, cold as iron. We heard every word. The words echoed through the void, reaching billions of ears, across the stars. For years you mocked us. For years you laughed while we stayed silent. You thought silence meant fear. You thought silence meant weakness. The voice paused. Across alien worlds, countless beings held their breath. You were wrong. Images followed the voice. Streams of data. Footage of human warships built in secret. Hidden shipyards in asteroid belts. Factories buried beneath oceans. Fleets launched from the dark side of the moon. For every rumor the galaxy had doubted, the humans now revealed the truth. We did not attend your meetings because we did not need to. While you argued in chambers, we built in silence. While you shouted for power, we forged it in steel. While you laughed at an empty chair, We prepared for the day you would test us. The screen showed the burning wreckage of the Council Armada, still drifting in orbit. That day has come, and now this is our answer. On alien homeworlds, citizens froze in terror. On battle stations, commanders lowered their heads. Across the council chamber, no one dared to move. The voice grew sharper. Earth will not kneel, Earth will not beg, and Earth will never again be ignored. From this day, we do not speak in your halls, we speak with our fleets. The galaxy is on notice. Approach us with respect or do not approach us at all. The final word struck harder than weapons. The age of Earth has begun. The transmission ended. Silence returned once more, but it was no longer the silence of absence. It was the silence of fear. The human fleet remained above Earth, glowing like a storm held in chains, their weapons humming faintly in the dark. They did not chase the retreating aliens. They did not demand surrender. They simply waited, watching. 1,000 shadows above a single blue world, a final message carved into the stars, and in the hearts of every being who had once mocked Earth, a truth that would never be forgotten. Humanity had not been late to the galaxy. Humanity had been waiting.